Spain is still celebrating. The confetti hasn't even been swept off the turf at MetLife Stadium, and somewhere in Zurich, FIFA's disciplinary committee already has case files open with one name attached to almost all of them: Argentina. Not one file, not two, three separate investigations stacked on top of each other, covering an entire tournament's worth of controversy packed into a few short weeks. And if you trace every single one of them backward, they all lead to the same starting point: a video review deep in the round of 16 that Egypt still hasn't gotten over. This isn't really a story about a lost final anymore. It's a story about whether the biggest tournament in football history can survive its own replay button. Was Argentina's path to that final built on legitimate calls, or did the video assistant referee hand them a route nobody else got? And now that the trophy's already gone anyway, does any of it even matter to FIFA? Or does it matter more than ever? Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly how one disallowed goal in Atlanta turned into the messiest officiating story of the entire 2026 World Cup. Let's go back to where this actually started. Round of 16, Atlanta, Argentina against Egypt. The defending champions were staring down one of the biggest shocks in World Cup history. Egypt led 2-0 with just 11 minutes left on the clock, and that scoreline included a second goal from Mustafa Zico, who'd already had an earlier effort ruled out by VAR for a foul in the build-up. The Pharaohs were minutes away from their first ever World Cup quarterfinal. Then it all fell apart. Cristian Romero and Lionel Messi pulled Argentina level, and deep into stoppage time, Enzo Fernandez scored the winner. Egypt believed they should have had a penalty in the build-up to that goal for a challenge inside the box that never got a second look. Argentina walked away 3-2 winners in a result that will follow this tournament for years. Egypt's coach didn't hold back afterward, saying his team had been cheated and had suffered a plain injustice. He was even booked in the aftermath for crossing his arms toward the referee, the same signal players are taught to use to flag racist abuse on the pitch while protesting the decisions. Within 2 days, the Egyptian Football Association made it official. A formal complaint landed on FIFA's desk demanding a full investigation into the referee and his entire video review team and asking for their removal from the rest of the tournament. Some Egyptian players went further, calling the result rigged outright. That's the moment this stopped being just a football story and became a credibility story. Quick pause if you're new here. This channel breaks down every controversy from this World Cup as it happens. No fluff, just the facts and the context you actually need. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because this story is about to get a lot messier. Here's where things get genuinely uncomfortable for FIFA. Just days after Egypt's complaint went public, football's governing body announced the officiating team for the quarterfinal between France and Morocco in Boston. For the first time all tournament, every single official on that assignment was from one country: Argentina. The referee, both assistants, the fourth official, even the reserve assistant, all Argentine, all appointed to a match involving one of Argentina's biggest remaining rivals, just days after Argentina themselves had survived on a contested video review. FIFA insisted every official had earned the assignment on merit, and nobody really disputed their resumes. What people disputed was the optics. France's coach played it down publicly, saying his team had to trust the officials regardless of nationality, though even he couldn't resist a dry jab about the criticism aimed at the referee from Egypt's exit. Morocco's camp stayed calm too. Football fans online were a lot less diplomatic, and the assignment reignited exactly the kind of conspiracy talk Egypt's complaint had already put in motion. Here's the part most of that online reaction actually got wrong, though, and it matters. The French referee from the Egypt match didn't vanish from the tournament because of Egypt's complaint. He vanished because of a standing FIFA rule that bars officials from any country reaching the semifinals from working the rest of the competition. Argentina, England, and Spain all made the Final Four, so referees from all three nations were automatically finished, complaint or no complaint. That distinction hasn't ended the conversation, though, because Egypt's actual complaint, the one asking FIFA to formally review the video officials and their handling of that match, is still sitting with FIFA. No verdict, no public findings, just silence while the tournament kept moving without them. That's worth sitting with for a second. A governing body running its entire review process behind closed doors for a decision that ended one country's World Cup dream. If you think Egypt owes a public answer, say so in the comments, because we're only halfway through this. And if breakdowns like this are useful to you, subscribing genuinely helps this channel keep making them. Now here's where the story stops being just about one video review and starts becoming something bigger. Because Argentina's officiating headaches didn't end with Egypt, they multiplied. Fast forward to the semifinal against England. Argentina won it 2-1 in a dramatic comeback, and almost immediately the football story turned into a political one. As players celebrated on the pitch, several of them held up a banner reading "Las Malvinas son Argentinas," a direct reference to the decades-old sovereignty dispute over the Falkland Islands. Within hours, the UK government was publicly demanding action, and FIFA confirmed its disciplinary committee was reviewing the celebration for a breach of its long-standing ban on political messaging at matches. Argentina's own president called the banner completely valid and said it reflected how the whole country feels, though even he predicted his team would end up paying a fine over it. FIFA's fines for political messaging have historically landed somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000, so that's probably where this one lands too. But before you assume every controversy attached to Argentina this tournament was legitimate, here's a piece of nuance worth knowing. During that same semifinal, a claim went viral that the video assistant referee had completely skipped reviewing the build-up to Argentina's equalizing goal. It spread everywhere, feeding straight into the idea that officials were simply letting Argentina do whatever they wanted. That claim turned out to be false. Match footage and the officiating logs later confirmed the play had been reviewed exactly as it should have.
That matters because it's a reminder that not everything said about this tournament's officiating is true just because it fits a pattern people already believe. Some of Argentina's controversies are backed by open FIFA case files. Others are viral claims that fell apart the moment someone actually checked them. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this breakdown, subscribing costs nothing, and it means you catch these deep dives the moment they go up, before the narrative online gets ahead of the actual facts. For the players and fans caught in the middle of all this, the tournament stopped feeling like just a competition a while ago. Egypt's squad flew home with their best chance yet at a first-ever quarterfinal, wiped out by a review most of their fans still haven't accepted. For a country with as much footballing history as Egypt, that kind of ending sticks. On the other side, Argentina's players competed under a cloud that followed them from Atlanta all the way to the final whistle in New Jersey. Every big decision that went their way, fair or not, got filtered through a narrative that had already been set back in the round of 16. That's an exhausting way to play a World Cup, even for a squad with this much experience. Fans everywhere have split right down the middle. Some see a legitimate pattern worth investigating. Others see a tournament favorite getting piled on simply because they're the biggest target in the room, especially after already lifting the trophy back in 2022. So, what do you actually think? Does Argentina have a real grievance about being unfairly scrutinized, or did they benefit from decisions that genuinely deserved more scrutiny? Drop your take in the comments and hit subscribe while you're down there, because this next part is where it gets messiest. Then came the final itself, and somehow things got even worse. Spain beat Argentina 1-0 in extra time at MetLife Stadium, with Ferran Torres scoring the winner to hand Spain their first World Cup title since 2010. Argentina finished the match down to 10 men after Enzo Fernandez picked up a second yellow card late in regulation. It was a brutal way for the defending champions to lose their crown. But the story didn't end at the final whistle. As Spain's players began celebrating, footage from the pitch showed physical confrontations breaking out between players from both sides. Leandro Paredes was seen grabbing Spain's Eric Garcia by the neck and pushing Gavi to the ground. Nicolas Otamendi and Joel Molina were caught up in a separate scuffle with Spain's Rodri. There were even claims that an Argentina assistant coach shoved Spanish forward Dani Olmo in the chaos.
Several Argentina players also turned their backs during the trophy presentation while Spain lifted the cup. FIFA didn't let it slide. Within days, the disciplinary committee confirmed it had opened a formal investigation into the incidents, appointing an independent prosecutor to review referee reports and match footage before deciding whether any players or staff face sanctions. That case now sits alongside the still unresolved banner investigation from the England semifinal, meaning Argentina finished this World Cup with multiple open disciplinary cases and not a single trophy to show for any of them. To be fair to FIFA here, retroactive bans from a tournament that's already finished are extremely unlikely no matter what any investigation finds. But fines, international suspensions, and formal reprimands are all realistically still on the table. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about getting the full picture instead of just the headline version. Do me a favor and subscribe. It's the easiest way to make sure you catch the moment FIFA actually announces anything on any of this. So where does this actually go from here? History gives us a decent guide. Past investigations into celebration conduct after World Cup finals have mostly ended in fines and formal warnings rather than anything more severe, and that's the most likely outcome for the post-final scuffle here too. The tougher question is what happens to Egypt's original complaint, the one that started this entire chain of events. FIFA has stayed almost completely silent on it publicly, and there's no sign a verdict is coming soon or that one will ever even be made public. The worst-case scenario for FIFA isn't really about Argentina at all. It's about trust in VAR itself. If a governing body can't or won't publicly clear the air after a federation formally accuses its own review system of inconsistency, that uncertainty doesn't just follow Argentina around, it follows every close call in every tournament that comes after this one. Best case, FIFA closes all three cases quickly, explains its reasoning either way, and actually addresses the pattern of VAR complaints before the next major tournament. Worst case, nothing gets resolved, the questions keep piling up, and the next controversial call anywhere in the world gets measured against everything that happened here in 2026. So, let's bring this all together. One disallowed goal in Atlanta turned into a formal complaint. That complaint turned into a conflict of interest controversy over an all-Argentine officiating crew. That controversy ran straight into a political banner investigation, a debunked viral claim, and finally a full-blown disciplinary case after ugly scenes at the final whistle of the World Cup final itself. 3 open FIFA investigations, one country at the center of every single one, and still, weeks later, no public resolution on the very first complaint that kicked it all off. Whatever you believe about Argentina's path through this tournament, one thing's hard to argue with. This is exactly the kind of story that makes people question whether VAR is actually solving the problem it was built to solve, or just giving controversy a more official-looking home. So here's the question I actually want you to answer down in the comments. Do you think Egypt got cheated by the officiating, or do you think this got blown way out of proportion by a country that simply couldn't accept an early exit? I want to hear both sides because this comment section always ends up more interesting than the story that started it. If you want to be here the moment FIFA actually rules on any of this, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you don't miss it. This story is still very much unfinished, and knowing this World Cup, it won't stay quiet for long. See you in the next one.